Welcome into episode 73 of the Dorton and Doetkott Debate Podcast. I am Lucas Dorton. I am finally joined by Nick Doetkott, who was not able to join us for the NFL preview episode, but is still here for the long run. Don't worry, we did not replace him, although Tyler did do a pretty solid job. I don't think we can replace you. Your name is in the title of the show, so
I'll always have that at least.
right. That would be tough. We'd have to get a new logo and everything. And at that point, it's like, yeah, may as well just keep you around.
No matter how bad I suck, I still got the job. Yeah. Just like Zach Wilson.
That's right. That's right. Exactly. Anywho, folks, so NFL season has started. You know, it's always wild. And I was just thinking about this today. I was on a 5-hour drive to Wisconsin, listening to some sports talk. And we're almost a month through the NFL season already. It feels like you wait centuries to get to football season, and then it comes around and it just blink of an eye, 3 weeks, already 4 weeks almost done.
Yeah, well, my season's already over, so.
Stop it. We will dive into that and much more, obviously.
Tank for Caleb.
Yeah. Crash for Caleb.
Crash for Caleb. There we go.
Crash for Caleb. Drop for Drake. Sunk for Shador. Yeah, there you go. Yeah, I don't know. I'd have to. Those are the ones off the top of that. We'll have to think. But anywho, so few things happening. Anyways, we'll dive into the NFL standings, talk about some other teams, other headlines, things that have happened, as well as getting into some baseball talk. We're about a little less than a week left in the MLB season. Some spots still left to be claimed. So we will dive into that a little bit, as well as the Damian Lillard trade in the NBA. So few different sports we're going to be covering today. It's been a little different from our most recent episodes. And by recent, I mean, it seems like we do one before each sports season. And that's about the only few that we've been doing lately. So hopefully, like I said, back on a regular grind. So let's see what we can do here. So anyways, we will dive right into things here. So in the NFL, we'll just start right away into the we'll start in the AFC East because this is the first division that pops up. We have my Miami Dolphins in first place at 3-0, Buffalo at 2-1, New England and the Jets 1-2 in that order respectively. So I think obviously when the Aaron Rodgers news happened, when he got traded to the Jets, I think everyone assumed this could very well be a toss-up division, probably minus the Patriots. I'm not sure many people thought the Patriots were going to do a whole lot this season. But when Aaron Rodgers got in, a lot of hype, a lot of excitement, ready to roll. And his Jets career lasts 4 plays, popped Achilles, and there you're back with Zach Wilson as your starting quarterback again. So now, unless the Jets, there's been some links to potential quarterbacks maybe that they would trade for. Unless Zach Wilson can figure out how to be an NFL quarterback, I think it's safe to say it still will probably end up being a 2-horse race with Miami and Buffalo. But early headlines, thoughts, AFC East overall for you?
To be honest, looking at the way the Dolphins are playing and then you still got the Bills, I don't think the Jets would be much of a competition even with Rodgers, honestly. But without him, they're definitely not. Obviously, the Dolphins have an argument for the best team in football right now. They're certainly playing like it. They're definitely the best offense in football currently. And they probably should be the favorite for the division. I'm kind of curious who actually is, according to Vegas. I haven't looked. But I'm more of a prove-it guy. Like, once somebody's established themselves in one division after division for a few years, like the Chiefs, well, them too, but like the Bills have now with like 3 or 4 in a row, until somebody knocks you off your pedestal, I'm not gonna do it unless you clearly do not look great. And the Bills still look fine. So I'm still picking the Bills to win the division. If the Dolphins win this next week, obviously they're up 2 games with a head-to-head win. It's theirs to lose. But those 2 teams I could both see winning a Super Bowl this year, and it's definitely a 2-horse race. It's going to be exciting to see how it finishes.
It is. I did see a stat today watching a Pat McAfee show that brought up one of their guys is a big Dolphins fan, and it was brought up apparently the Miami Dolphins have not won in Buffalo in about 7 years. So that's definitely something to look out for. I'm with you. I'm a very much, you know, prove it and show me you can beat the teams, can win the division. Now, remember, we did beat Buffalo in Miami last year. It came down towards kind of the last couple plays of the game to see if Buffalo would get a touchdown there at the end or not. But nonetheless, we haven't won in Buffalo in 7 years. So that's going to be tough this time around. Obviously, we're hoping to have a full squad. Injuries and everything certainly do suck. So to have both side squads out there should be fun to see. But I'm with you. I think this is a massive game. Obviously, every division game is a massive game. But I think, this is the first time this season where I'm like, Buffalo, I think could very well win. I was pretty confident going to the Denver game. Patriots, again, division game, you never know what could happen. But I think we had better talent than them. Obviously, it ended up showing at the end. And then the Chargers was kind of a horse apiece on that one, I felt, overall. But we should see. We should see. Now, as far as the Jets go, there's been talks about maybe trading for your boy, Kirk Cousins. Now, what is your thoughts on that? Is that something you think the Jets should be doing right now with the roster that they have?
No, I don't think so. They're basically just trading. You basically just need a quarterback for 1 year until Rodgers comes back next year. And I don't see unless you can get somebody for super cheap, I don't see the point of it because they're just going to lose to the Dolphins and Bills anyways, and they're already 1-2. If you were 1-0 still, maybe. And I don't think I like Cousins. Cousins is great, but I don't think Cousins is going to be able to propel the Jets over those two teams. So I don't think they should do it. And the fact they got Simeon, I think it shows they're not going to do it. They're just
right.
They got somebody else to at least put some competition. I would love it if they did it, so the Vikings can get whatever they get for Kirk, and that means they're pretty much guaranteed to draft a quarterback in the first this year, which is all I want. But I don't think it's going to happen.
Yeah, I think pre-Trevor Simeon signing, I probably would have been like, I think they definitely should go after Cousins. And I don't necessarily think they fully shouldn't. I think this is a very good roster, but I think this is a young enough roster to where, yes, it sucks. You're probably going to have another year of, mediocrity, probably finishing towards the bottom of the barrel likely. So see what you can do the rest of the season. Keep everyone healthy for Rodgers to come back next year, and then see what you can do then. Again, I know Jets fans, and it sucks. You had all this hype, Super Bowl hype, coming into the season, and to pretty much have it be all eviscerated, four plays into your season, certainly does kind of suck with that. But I think they will stick with Wilson, probably get to Trevor Simeon at some point. But yeah, they are in an interesting position there, and I'm fine with it as a Dolphins fan. But we'll see what happens. Patriots, they need weapons. And I think we've been saying that for the past few years. Bill O'Brien coming in, having an actual offensive mind in there, I think has been good. And Mac Jones has looked a little bit better than he has, with Matt Patricia calling his plays and other people calling his plays the last couple of years. But Bill Belichick is an outstanding coach. Admittedly biased, I think he's number 2 all time. Obviously, Don Shula, I'm probably going to say, is number 1. A lot of bias behind that, and that could be definitely driving that. But nonetheless, top 2 coach ever. But the days of skating by with mid to not great receiving weapons is behind them. Mac Jones is not Tom Brady. He's not going to turn some random greeter at Walgreens and turn him into, a future Hall of Fame player like Tom Brady could, do that with just about anyone.
All the idiots who thought it was all Belichick and not Brady. Well, look at now. How many playoff appearances do they have since Brady's left? Zero.
Right. So Bill, I think, is still an outstanding coach, but they have to do something. Devontae Parker being your number 1, it's just, that's not a recipe for success. It isn't. So they got to trade for someone. I don't know who that is. but they got to do something because until they do that, it's just they're never going to compete. Never going to
Well, and they
compete.
got rid
Defense
of
can only take
Jacoby
you so far.
Myers, and they shouldn't have done that.
Right. Right. But anywho, we could probably move on from the AFC East. I like where the Dolphins are at right now, hanging a 70 piece on the hometown Denver Broncos. Was certainly great to see. Had to let all my Broncos friends know that. So that was definitely really cool to see. Just the ineptness that Denver has, and they sold their soul for a Super Bowl, and now they're reaping the downsides to that. So, but no, Tua looks great. We've said all season, as long as Tua stays healthy, the sky's the limit for Miami, and I still truly believe that with how he's looked. And the offensive line with Teron Armstead is a lot better. Still not fantastic. Connor Williams needs to learn how to snap a ball, or else I'm going to lose my marbles by the time the season's over. But we'll see what happens. It'll be interesting. A lot of year left, a ton of year left, but I'm very happy and encouraged of what I've seen out of Miami on both sides of the ball too. So been good to see. Anyways, we can move on now to the AFC North, the kind of beat you up division, the black and blue division, if you will. We have Pittsburgh, Baltimore, and Cleveland all at 2-1, Cincinnati at 1-2. I think the kind of big storylines from this division is Cincinnati. And what is wrong with the offense? Obviously, Joe Burrow still, as that calf issue is still a pretty big issue, because him moving and stuff out of the pocket is just not. So you can tell he doesn't have the mobility, and it's just the offense has taken a long time to click. So, what's your thoughts on that division so far?
Yeah, I'd say Cincy's the one who jumps out the charts because, and now granted, they started off 0-2 last year also, and then they were competing for a bye at the end. But their 0-2 start last year, they didn't look all that bad. They lost to a team we didn't think was great at the time, Pittsburgh, in overtime, but that was mainly just because they had some turnovers here and there. Their offense at least looks fine. Their offense looks terrible right now, like really bad. And if it weren't for Jamar Chase just having a really big game on Monday night, they still wouldn't have looked good the other night, and they really didn't. I don't expect that all season. I expect them to turn around, but I don't think they'll win the division. I don't really know who will. But one of those three other teams, I think, will win. I don't know if it's just Burrow's not 100% healthy or what. I just don't think they're going to truly all the way turn it around yet. But we'll see. It's still very early. But I actually had Pittsburgh win the division. I had a three-way tie with them, Baltimore, and Cincy. But Pittsburgh hasn't impressed me so far. Their offense looks really lackluster too. They found a way to win 2 games, and they'll be decent. Mike Tomlin doesn't go below 500, but I think unless Lamar gets hurt, it's their division to lose. Then again, they just lost to the Colts, but the Browns are like favored in every game, and I didn't expect anything from the Browns, but they've found a way to be decent. They've allowed like 15 first downs all year or something. Like that's ridiculous. But so it'll be a battle. All 4 teams might end up tied for the division by the end of the year. Who knows? But I don't really see any of these teams competing for a Super Bowl unless the Bengals can figure it out and start playing like they did last year. But I think all of them could be decent and a threat. So we'll see.
I'm interested to see what happens in Pittsburgh with Kenny Pickett. Obviously, we're both huge George Pickens guys. Our boy Will Rao, biggest George Pickens guy you're ever going to meet and ever will meet. He's an outstanding player. I don't know where I'm at with Kenny Pickett. I don't want to be completely off the board because, this is his only, second year out there, in the league. So I don't know. Their offensive coordinator is awful. Matt Canada is not good at all, but they gave him a promotion. So I don't know what's going on there. I would like to see, just give me the rest of the season with Pickett, see if he can somehow figure it out. But something's got to change because that offense just looks so inept, and they're going to win games because they have a good defense.
Well, Najee just doesn't look good.
What's that?
I thought Najee was a stud, but Najee just doesn't have it.
He's slow. Looks very slow. Yeah, very slow out there. Pittsburgh is going to win games because of their defense. They've always been that way. They've always had really solid defenses. Yep, exactly.
Well,
TJ Watt.
Mike Tomlin's a fantastic coach.
He is. But we'll see. I don't know where I'm at with that. And then as far as Cleveland goes, man, Deshaun Watson, you can tell he hasn't played in a couple of years. Obviously, he played the last few games of last season, but you can tell he had not played football consistently for a little bit. Now, I think he's very slowly starting to figure some things out here and there, but he's got to pick it up because it's going to be 5 weeks away. And if he hasn't figured out what's going on there, and losing Nick Chubb is massive. That's a massive loss to that offense. And, I'm sure, with some degree of safety blanket for him. Okay, my offensive game, I can't pass it well. Well, let me just hand it off to Nick Chubb and he can, rip off a 50-yard run. And right after that, we, switch the field. But doesn't have that. Has Kareem Hunt, which he has some familiarity with, but Kareem Hunt's not Nick Chubb. Great player, not Nick Chubb, though. Not Nick Chubb. So we'll see what happens there. But yeah, and then Baltimore is Baltimore. I don't know. They're always a tough team. I feel I always struggle the most in properly rating them where they are, because they, on paper, are a team that should do well, but then they'll drop games to the Indianapolis Colts, like we saw on Sunday. And I don't know. So that's a team that I'm also, it's a big question mark division for me, essentially, is what I'm trying to say. I don't know. Any other thoughts?
No, you summed it up.
Nice. So now I will dive into our next division here. And I did just exit out of it, so let me pull it back up again here. That's going to be the AFC South. I think everyone and their mother was pretty confident in saying AFC South is going to be the Jacksonville Jaguars division to lose. And I said that on the podcast with Tyler Rogers when he was on here with me. And he was confident with that too. Boy, I don't know what's going on in Jacksonville, but that offense, that team does not look good right now. Trevor Lawrence has been very average. Calvin Ridley, but outside of week 1, has barely done anything. ETN's been pretty solid, but that's been it. There's not been a lot of bright spots. What's going on with Jacksonville?
I don't know. But they got to figure it out, because I basically said anybody on the Jacksonville Jaguars this year I'll take for fantasy. And I don't have as many as I planned, but I have Lawrence in a couple leagues. I have Zay Jones, who hasn't played. But I don't know. I still think it's their division to lose. Tennessee looks bad. Houston's bad. Indianapolis is, I think, 2-1, but
yep.
And they won one without Anthony Richardson. But Gardner Minshew, former Jag.
Minshew mania.
But I don't know. I can't see any of those other 3 teams doing anything. And Jacksonville looks bad right now, but I trust they'll at least figure it out enough to win the division. But it's mainly just those other 3 teams aren't anything good. I don't care if the Colts are 2-1. I don't see nothing out of anybody. We'll see.
We'll see what happens.
The Jags have 2 straight games in Europe. That's bull crap. So
yeah,
let's see if they can figure it out overseas.
Yeah, Jacksonville seems like they're just forever for the rest of the time going to be the one team that you're getting a London game at least one time this year. And they have 2 of them this year. So
back to back. Yep.
Sorry about it, Coach Peterson and T-Law there over in Jacksonville, but we shall see what happens. As far as, the rest of the division goes, I think, everyone is playing how we thought they were going to play. Tennessee isn't good. Houston, there's a reason why they had a top 5 pick last year. Stroud's looked good, though, for him so far.
Yeah.
Defense has been doing some good. Tank Dell is a tank, so he's doing what his name implies. He's been playing good ball as well, too.
Nico Collins is good, too.
Yep, he's been balling. And then the Colts, Anthony Richardson is he's a good player. He's a very good player, but he's got to stay healthy. It's definitely not a great look when he is pretty much gotten taken out of the first 2 games that he's played in and didn't play in the third one because of an injury. So we'll see what happens. But anywho, bright futures on that division. We'll see what comes with it. But yeah, so moving on to the AFC West now, or in other words, may as well rename it the Kansas City Chiefs division. They're 2-1, Raiders and Chargers at 1-2, Denver Broncos at 0-3. Are there any surprises for you in this division?
I'm surprised at just how bad the Broncos are, honestly.
Yeah.
I mean, I at least thought they'd be better this year, but they're toiletry, Lucas. Toiletry.
Yeah.
But otherwise, no, same old. Devontae Adams is a beast. Surprised how good Jacoby Myers is doing with the Raiders. The Chargers are the Chargers. They're the Vikings of the AFC. They tried to give the Chargers of the NFC the win this last week, and the Chargers of the NFC gave the Vikings of the AFC the win.
I think I follow.
Vikings and Chargers, same freaking team every year, just a bunch of disappointment. But yeah, Chiefs that win this division easy. I don't think they've lost a divisional game since I've been born, so they'll be all right.
It's a long time.
Too long.
Yeah, I think for me, you mentioned the Broncos' struggles.
Oh, and Kansas City's got T Swift now, so nothing's stopping them.
That's right. I think Nick may be an honorary Kansas City Chiefs fan for the rest of the season, simply because Taylor Swift, his girl, is now knees deep into the Chiefs, the Red Kingdom, as they say. Anywho, so I know you're happy with that, with how the Vikings are playing. So I guess you're allowed to have that one. But yeah, as far as the Broncos go, you mentioned their struggles. I think their struggles have been for the opposite reasons of where we think they were going to be. The defense has not looked good. It has not looked good. Russell Wilson, all things considered, has he looked outstanding? No. Has he been the main reason why the Broncos are 0-3? No. You can't get a 70 spot hung on you and expect to win games in the NFL. And then not to mention the other 2 weeks before, Russell Wilson hasn't looked like Seattle Seahawks Russell Wilson, but he has not looked like Russell Wilson of first-year Denver Broncos a year ago, Russell Wilson either. So I don't know. Sean Payton, I know, has been pretty heavily involved in the Denver media and is like to call out pretty much everyone else besides himself. At the end of the day, you're the head coach of an NFL team. What is your fault is your fault, and what isn't. But you got to take some ownership of what's going on here, because it's you can't call Nathaniel Hackett the worst coach ever. But then in the same point last year, Hackett was 2-1, had just beat the 49ers, and you're now 0-3. So you got to figure something out. So I don't know. We'll see what happens there. But again, Chiefs, this is their division to lose like it is every other year, and I don't see that happening. So we'll see what goes on there. And as far as the Chargers, I mean, they were trying to give the Vikings a win on Sunday. Brandon Staley, listen, as a player, I'm sure it's cool to see our coach trusts us so that we're going to make ballsy calls in positions to where if it doesn't work, we're going to be screwed, and which most of the time they don't work for him. I'm all for the statistics. I'm all for advanced metrics, whatever. I like that stuff. But you have to get to a point in the game in professional sports to where you just got to have a feel. You'd have to have a feel. And he hasn't. He's relied far too much on the numbers and not so much on just what do you think realistically is a smart thing to do. Oh, we're on our own 30-yard line in a pivotal one-score game. Okay, maybe we should punt the ball down the field and help out our defense a little bit versus having them pretty much start out dang near in the red zone all ready to start their drive. Again, but it's one of those things. If it works, you look like the smartest human being on planet Earth. But the majority of the time when it hasn't, this is why he's been getting the criticism, because the defense has been getting torched because they always are having these short fields. So I don't know. We'll see what happens with the Chargers. There's a lot of talent on that team that I think is getting wasted by some inept coaching, play calling, in my opinion. And Austin Eckler being out too with the ankle certainly doesn't help. And now Mike Williams gone for the year.
Yeah,
with
Joshua Kelly's not good.
No, he is not. No, he is not. So we'll see what happens there. Moving on to your conference, the NFC now. A little more at home for you here. Talk us through NFC East. So we have the Philadelphia Eagles at 3-0, Dallas and Washington at 2-1, Giants at 1-2. What are your thoughts so far early on in that division?
I picked Dallas to win it mainly because their schedule is easier, and I do think they have a chance to be better than Philly. But after you lose to Arizona like that, I guess, like I said, I'm one who is more like, until you prove to me I'm not going to get you there. Well, Philly made the Super Bowl last year, so I guess I shouldn't have doubted them. Their offense hasn't looked that dominant though yet. I'm a little worried about their pass game, but they're 3-0. They look fine. Their defense is still very good. Jalen Hurts could do a QB sneak every single play of every game, and they'd probably score 30 points. So Eagles should be the favorites. Cowboys are very good, though. I know they just lost to the Cardinals, but I don't know. You're just flukes every once in a while. They're very good. I just don't trust Mike McCarthy, and I'm not sure Prescott's got that man gene in him. We'll see. But Washington's solid. Sam Howell's not going to throw 4 picks every game. He's decent. But I don't think they're playoff good. But they'll win some games. And the Giants are not good. I think last year was a fluke. Beating the Vikings isn't a fluke because the Vikings are pathetic. But Daniel Jones is all right. He's nothing special. They don't have too many weapons to throw to. Saquon, in my opinion, is honestly overrated, but he's still good. And not having him is going to hurt. I don't know. If the Giants win 6 games, I'd be surprised.
Yeah. You better give some more props to your boy Sam Howell. He's your QB1. Is he you're on one of your fantasy teams?
A 2-quarterback league and Sam Howell's my QB1.
Yeah, that's hey, huge Sam Howell fans. Huge Sam Howell fans over here.
Top scorer of the week 1, third week 2. Last week was a little rough. 4 interceptions was a little hard to get over, but
if you somehow win the title in this league, you have to get a Sam Howell jersey.
Sam Howell, baby.
Yep, that's your boy. No, I think you hit the nail on the head with everything there. The Eagles have looked a little slow on the offense side of things, but they're 3-0 and they've figured some things out. So they're definitely headed in the right direction. Dallas is, again, a weird team. I think they might make the playoffs just because of, they have an outstanding defense, but they did just get cooked by the Arizona Cardinals, like you said, and Josh Dobbs. So I don't know what's going on there. Commanders, they're going to be a very middle of the road team. I don't expect them to do a whole lot. And then the Giants, I don't know. They are a tough team to predict right now because they can go out one week and get shut out on Sunday Night Football, and then the next week, come back from 10,000 points against the Cardinals at halftime and win, only to get cooked the week after that. So I don't know who the Giants are as a football team. And are the Cardinals a sneaky good team too? They should have had 2 wins right now. Yeah.
I actually think Kyler's going to play now. I didn't think he was going to, but I actually think he's going to now.
If they keep winning games and hanging in there, they might.
Well, I never thought they were that bad. It's just everybody was talking about they were going to be the worst team in the league and we're tanking, and eventually they just convinced me. But this team's never shown that they're that bad. They're not good, but they got better players than Houston and Chicago does, for God's sakes.
Right. Yeah, I think the thing with the Cardinals, while people were thinking the tanking, and we'll just segue into the NFC West after this here, is obviously Kyler being out, for however long he's out for stinks. But then you'd pretty much drop the main guy that knows the system and Colt McCoy, like pretty much right before the season starts, signed Josh Dobbs after training camp and all that. So just the timing of everything looked it looked interesting. They have not shown to be that team that everyone thought they were going to be. They've been playing very physical, aggressive defense, and they haven't made too many mistakes on offense. Now, yes, he did blow a massive lead to the
I think they've been
Giants.
winning at halftime all 3 games.
Right. So they've been in there the whole time, in all the games so far. We'll have to see what happens. Josh Dobbs also been around the league for about 7 years. I didn't realize he had been around for that long, but
Yeah, he was
good
Big
for him.
Ben's backup for a long time. Well, he was with Tennessee for a bit too.
Yep. So we will just dive into the NFC West then with that. 49ers 3-0, Seattle 2-1, LA 1-2, Arizona 1-2. Yeah, Niners are good. I think the moral of the story is the Niners look good. Brock Purdy still looks good. They have not missed a beat on either side of the ball. And I think they're probably I picked them to be in the Super Bowl and to win it. So the fact that they're doing this, I'm not too shocked by, but they have not missed any beats at all. None.
Yeah, they may make the Super Bowl against your Dolphins, and it'll be Niners versus Niners. At least every running back in the Dolphins is a Niner. So,
And our head coach, former offensive coordinator for the Niners, too.
Yeah, right. But no, I actually picked Seattle to win the division. I think mainly it's because I don't know. I think I'm a Niners hater for whatever reason. I think they proved me wrong a year or two ago, and I didn't like it and wanted to double down, and they keep proving me wrong. And coming in the season, I thought they'd be really good, but I'm like, I just don't know if I can trust. We haven't seen Brock Purdy play much. I'm like, I don't know if I can trust him over a whole season. Well, no, Brock Purdy, Mr. Irrelevant, he's clearly good. Niners definitely look like the best team in the league right now. They should be number one in power rankings. But Jalen Hurts is a beast, and I still favor the Eagles in the NFC just because they were there last year. Hurts is probably better in my opinion, and I don't know, but they're very close. Currently, the Niners are playing better, and McCaffrey's a beast. I still take Chubb, but McCaffrey's a stud. Debo, it looks like Debo's having a good bounce back year. Yeah, they're really good. So I do think now they will win the division. However, I'm still very high on Seattle. Seattle's a good football team.
Yep, they are.
Smith is last year was not a fluke. He's good. Week 1 to the Rams, I don't know what happened there, but the Rams look better than we thought. They're not great, but I don't know what happened there. Divisional games, it happens, but they're good. And Kenneth Walker, I wasn't high on him coming into this year. I thought they used Charbonnet a lot. Well, Walker looks really good. Smith and Jigba hasn't even done much yet, and they haven't needed it. The Seahawks are a good football team, and Pete Carroll's a great coach. I don't care what anybody says. Seahawks are going to be good. Cardinals look much better. Credit to them. They're not tanking, clearly. Josh Dobbs having a good year. James Conner, very good running back.
Yeah.
My buddy T. Reed would love me for giving Dennis Gardeck, the Barbarian, a shout-out. Solid D lineman for them. Racking up the sacks. And then who's left?
You got the Rams.
Oh, yeah, the Rams. I just mentioned them. Matthew Stafford looking decent, but I think all that really matters when it comes to the Rams this year is Puka Nacua.
Yeah.
Puka Nacua, what a baller. And Tutu Atwell having a good year, too. And Kieran Williams, who thought the Rams would have 3 viable fantasy players, none named Cooper Kupp.
Yeah, not me.
Wow.
Not me. Yeah, I'm glad you brought up the Rams. They are 1-2, but let us remember they are a Tutu Atwell out of bounds away from very high chance of potentially winning that game.
He was not out. He hovered.
I'm with you.
His heel was clearly hovering over the line.
Hey, you're preaching to the choir. I'm with you on that one.
Whoever made that decision knew he was on my fantasy team and said, "Oh no, he's out. He's on Duckett's fantasy team. Let's say he's out." He's hovering.
Yeah, he was hovering. So, you're exactly right, though. I think the teams that we thought are going to be good have been very good. Yeah, Smith and Jigba, I don't know. And maybe this is on us as football fans. You got a room with DK Metcalf, Tyler Lockett, and you got Kenneth Walker, did the year before. The the sharing of the pot probably wasn't going to be as big for Smith and Jigba, but nonetheless, it's 3 games into his NFL career. There's no panic button that needs to be pressed. He hasn't gotten the ball much thrown to his direction, hasn't gotten many opportunities to do much. So we'll see. We'll see what happens with that. But you're right, Geno Smith, what a comeback story for him. I mean, I know it was obviously well documented last year and everything, but man, just this guy looked like his football career was over and then came back and was like, hey, did you guys forget about me? Because you shouldn't have. And here he is. So he's doing great things with him still. And you're entirely right. Pete Carroll, fantastic coach, outstanding coach. The youngest 71-year-old looking dude I've ever seen in my life.
Was full sprint at the official to argue a call. I'm like, bro, that dude's faster than me.
Oh, yeah.
That dude is in immaculate shape. He looks so good for his age.
Right. If I could somehow be that speed when I am that age.
He is speed.
He's the epitome of speed. And
the Dolphins.
Yeah, sure, yeah. Well, we'll go with that. We'll go with that. Moving on, NFC South here. Again, I think this is just a tough division because, of not really sure what could happen. I think Carolina 0-3. I don't think too many people are surprised by that. They haven't looked fantastic. Bryce Young obviously showing he's a rookie. He's done some things that are good, some things that aren't. And this is the thing, a lot of people have to remember is there's a reason these teams were drafting where they were. It's because they were not good last year. Now, obviously, in Carolina's case, they did trade up to get the number 1 overall pick to get Bryce Young, but they weren't doing that. They didn't do anything last year either. So, that's a tough division. With Derek Carr getting hurt now, we'll see what happens there. But overall, I don't know. Baker Mayfield has looked good. He hasn't looked like, what people thought Baker Mayfield might be. And I just want to say this, I not by any means do I think Baker Mayfield is the, second coming of Christ for NFL quarterback, because he certainly isn't. But I will say I do think he did kind of get a little bit of an unfair ending, how things happen in Cleveland there. People, I think, tend to forget, and I think Cleveland fans forget, that this team won a game in 2 years, a singular game in 2 NFL seasons. Baker Mayfield comes in midway through his rookie year, leads into the playoffs, wins a playoff game for the team, And then he has that shoulder thing where Stefanski pretty much came out and said, oh, yeah, he can't throw the ball. And then the next game, they have him throw the ball like 75 times. So I don't know if that's a setup or something. I don't know what's going on there. But, good. I'm glad to see that Baker Mayfield is at a place to where he can be the guy and not just another name in the room. And he's played well so far. So, hat tip to Baker Mayfield because he's hopefully on the right trajectory again. Is he ever going to be, go down as, oh, this guy was the number 1 overall pick, that was a great decision? Probably not. Not a bum either, though.
Especially when Josh Allen and Lamar Jackson were in that draft class.
Right.
I don't know. I still think they're probably going to be looking quarterback in this draft, especially when there's like 8 of them that are top 10 talent darn near.
Right.
But he's looked decent. The AFC South, I think, coming into the season was definitely everybody's worst division. NFC South was probably the second. And I still think they're not great, but they're clearly much better than I thought. Atlanta started off looking good. I mean, they had 3 2-0 teams, I believe. But the division went 0-4 this week. And Falcons didn't look good against Detroit. Buccaneers could barely muster first down against Eagles. Panthers are not good. And then
New Orleans.
Oh, yeah, New Orleans lost. New Orleans, it was probably 3-0 if Derek Carr doesn't get hurt.
I would agree.
New Orleans, coming into the season, I predicted New Orleans to win the division with like 11 wins, I think, because their schedule is booty cheeks. I still think they're going to win the division. If Carr's hurt, it scares me a little bit, but I don't think it's anything serious. And Jameis Winston's at least capable enough to get some wins when he's out. They still have Winston, right?
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yep.
But Atlanta's a lot better than I thought. Desmond Ritter's not good though. Dude, they need if they had a mediocre quarterback, Atlanta would be a really good team. Their defense has guys. Their defense is good. They got 2 really good running backs. I still don't. Bijan's a stud. I still don't think you should have drafted him because Tyler Algier is a beast. But drafting a guy like that, it's hard to go wrong. And then like they could use some more pass catchers, but like they got a lot of talent on that team. They just need a quarterback. Tampa's got a lot of talent too. Two good wide receivers, although Godwin hasn't done much of anything this year. They got defensive players all over the place, really good guys, especially the linebacker position. And I think Todd Bowles, at least, I think Todd Bowles is a decent coach. But none of these teams are anything special. I expect one team out of the to the playoffs out of this division. I still think it's New Orleans, but they're better than I thought. And New Orleans is Carolina is terrible.
This is my plea. This is my hope and plea to the Atlanta Falcons. Get Kyle Pitts out of there if you're not going to use him. It is the most mind-boggling, baffling thing right now on planet Earth of how I don't understand. Get this dude out of Atlanta if you're not going to throw him the ball. How many clips have we seen the past 3 years, mainly this last year and a half? The dude is wide open. Either it's Ritter not being a good quarterback and can't find him, or it's Artie Smith, whoever the offensive coordinator is, not making the right calls. This dude is not a bad football player. Not a bad football player. They got to figure something out to get him the ball. I don't know.
Yeah, I agree. Kyle Pitts is far too talented, and they just don't even use the dude.
Right. And we're going mobile here, Dorton and Duncan Debate Podcast, to a new location here. Yeah, we'll see what happens with that division. I'm with you though. I do still feel the Saints division. I think they're by far and away the best team in this division. But like you mentioned, Tampa does have an outstanding defense, and they may be able to ride Baker being a game manager as well as Tampa defense, and that could be enough for them to win some ball games this year. So we'll see. And now, without further ado, ladies and gentlemen, we'll get into the NFC North, where the Chicago Bears are 0-3. The Detroit Lions and Green Bay Packers are both 2-1. So that means there is one other team in this division. You are wearing the color shirt of the team that we are missing.
It's Randy Moss.
Straight cash, homie. Love it. Love it. Minnesota Vikings are right there with the Chicago Bears as being a winless team. I'll let you take the stage. I have my own thoughts, but you being the fan, you have the stage, sir.
Same old Vikings. All the talent in the world, they put it to waste. I can't tell you, and there's so many Vikings fans out there who are just clueless as to how pathetic we actually are. After 2 games, it's a turnover. If we don't turn the ball over 18 times, well, guess what? You did, okay? What do you do the next week? You did it again. You turned it over. Brandon Staley makes the dumbest coaching decision I've ever seen. What do? We don't even know how to clock the freaking ball and spike it, and we throw a pick to lose. Anything that can go wrong will go wrong. It's like what Stephen A. says about the Cowboys. What will go wrong? Anything that can go wrong will go wrong. The Vikings suck. They're toiletry. I can't stand this franchise. Can't stand Minnesota sports. Can't wait for a week from now for the Twins to rule my heart. I hate the Vikings. Hate everything. I'm done. No, I'm not. I'm not done, okay? This team has way too much talent to go 0-3, and they're 0-3. Now, they're not Chicago Bears 0-3. I'm not even really going to mention them. They're absolute toiletry. Justin Fields, not good. I know he doesn't get much help. I know the coaching sucks, but he's not good. The Bears suck. Bears versus Broncos, game of the week. Let's watch that, baby. But that doesn't mean the Vikings aren't bad. They are bad. Please tank. Please tank. Get rid of Kirk. Let him sit. I don't want to see him. I want Caleb Williams. I want anybody. I just want a young quarterback Just give me something. Just give me some joy. I just want to see a quarterback be able to run through a pocket like a gazelle one day. Just one time ever, please. All right, that's enough. Lions, they're decent, but I'm still not impressed by them. They're nothing great. They'll probably win the division. I think they got a lot more talent than the Packers, but I don't trust them. I still don't think Dan Campbell's a good coach, but Packers and Lions both above average. I'll lean Lions way. Thursday night or tomorrow night's game is huge.
Yeah.
All right.
That's
I think I'm done.
Are you sure?
Yeah.
Okay. No, I'm with you as far as the Vikings go. This team is not an 0-3 team when you have the number one passer, and as far as I think, what does a yardage go in Kirk Cousins, or is he number two, number
one in yards? Jefferson's number 1 in yards. Hunter's number 2 in sacks.
Yeah. So 3 of the main positions to where if you have a player that is number 1 or number 2 in, you typically are going to win some ball games. Boy, are we wrong with that. A year ago, there were 10-0 in one-score games. Is that correct? What are we, 0-3 now?
And 0-4 if you count the Giants playoff game.
That's true. If you count the Giants, 0-4. There was a lot of hype going into next year, a year ago going into this year. Deservedly so, I think, with what you showed. Obviously had the heartbreaking loss to, Daniel Jones, aka Tom Brady, apparently in the playoffs, was just dotting you apart there. To just have the season be where it's at now is just disappointing. There really, truly is no other way to put it. I think if you lose the Carolina game,
please lose. Please lose to Carolina. I'm begging you, Minnesota. Please lose to Carolina.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know that I could cheer for my team to lose. But if they do lose, I mean, I think
I definitely will.
Well, hats off to you for that.
It's for the greater good.
I mean, if you lose to Carolina, obviously they're, again, you're going to hear the folks that say the long season, which it is, but you're arguably maybe easiest game that you had putting out the Chicago Bears division games, which sometimes isn't easy for you guys because you tend to lose those ones every once in a while too.
Yeah, we did.
It was the Tampa game week 1. The next easiest game was probably going to be Carolina right now. You lost to Tampa.
And Denver.
Right. And Denver. And now you got Carolina. I would be surprised if you lose that game. I know I'm not a Vikings fan, so maybe you have different thoughts. Me as an outsider fan going into that game, I don't know how the Vikings lose, me personally.
Oh, they'll find a way.
Well, they usually do, to prove me wrong with that. But I'll be interested to see what happens there. But they got to figure something out. Kevin O'Connell year 2. I don't know. I don't know what they do. His job is not I don't think he's on a hot seat by any means.
Yeah.
Not by any means. But I think if you do decide to roll with Cousins for the rest of the year, you got to make some moves then in the offseason and do something to get some high equity, unless you want to pay Kirk Cousins another $40 million to come back for 1 year, which I'm sure no one wants to do after you just gave Hawkins a big deal.
Justin Jefferson is a dog. That dude is something else.
Very good.
And he is good.
Outstanding.
He is so good at football.
Outstanding.
So good at football.
Which makes it even tougher seeing how the team is.
I truly think the only better player in football is Patrick Mahomes. I don't think TJ Watt or Nick Bosa is even better than Jefferson. Jefferson is a dog.
He's outstanding. Yep. He's very good. He's very good.
Never missed a game.
Yep. Yeah. And that's huge too, which is surprising because that dude is not afraid of contact by any
means. He gets
means.
drilled.
He is not afraid of contact or doing the drilling like we saw week one.
That was sick. That tackle off that pick
came like a bat out of hell to throw his whole body at him.
Yeah.
But we shall see there. So, and then as far as the rest of the division goes, Jordan Love has looked not bad.
Like 8-9 touchdowns, I think, something like that.
Yeah, he hasn't looked bad. Now there are moments where you can see, okay, this is his first time really starting. But for the most part, he's been doing a lot better than I think a lot of people thought he was going to be. Credit to him. Detroit with a couple of wins. Obviously, this Thursday night game is a massive one. So we'll see what happens for there in that game. And then the Bears, I got to put them right up there with, gosh, I don't know who the worst franchise is, the Chicago Bears or the Colorado Rockies. Boy, they are not far apart. That's all I got to say.
Bears at least have that 1985 to always go back on.
Yeah, that's true.
About it.
So if that's the case, maybe the Bears are better. I don't know. But I can confidently say Justin Fields is not the guy that I thought he was. However, saying that, I also don't think that it is all his fault. I think the Bears just don't know how to run a franchise. They don't know how to draft.
He's better than Zach Wilson.
Yeah, that's true.
That's all.
That's true. But I just, you have your coordinator pretty much get his house raided by the FBI, and then the next day have like $10,000 in equipment stolen from your team.
Yeah. How the heck
to then also, go out there and try and beat the Kansas City Chiefs right after that. And again, the Taylor Swift was attending. There's no chance in hell they were going to win that game.
No chance.
No chance. No chance. I would like to see what Fields could do with a coach or with a team that can have him run the ball more. No one can deny this dude is an outstanding athlete. And as far as quarterback runners go, man, he is top 5, top 3, maybe even. He is outstanding at that.
He's top 1 or 2, probably.
But the trouble is that when you are calling designed run plays, not until the fourth quarter of a game where you're already getting blown out in, what are we doing? Like, I don't understand how you can be that bad of a franchise to just, you see this guy has had some struggles throwing the ball. Also, DJ Moore can't catch footballs anymore. I don't know what that dude's problem is. But when they has thrown it to him, he has done nothing with the ball. I don't know. Justin Fields is not the guy that I thought he was. He's not a great quarterback. And I can admit my shortcomings in that. But I will say, man, get this dude out of Chicago and get him on a team that he can try to showcase some of his talent.
Death, taxes, and Justin Fields pick 6s in the fourth quarter. 3 certainties.
Yep. I don't know. Anywho, so that's the NFC North, and that's our first 3-week NFL preview for that. As far as football goes, any other thoughts, things that you thought are noteworthy, things that are interesting to mention? Alvin Kamara is coming back, so we'll see how he does the rest of the way. But and do you have any other thoughts on things?
I'd just like to send a message to all the players on my fantasy team who decide getting hurt week 1 and not playing again is great for my team. Would you please get back on the field and play some football? I'd appreciate it. Austin Eckler, Aaron Jones, David Montgomery, the list goes on and on and on.
Well, I'm sure they will oblige and send you an apology video.
I hope so.
Check your inbox in the morning. I'm sure it'll be there. Anywho, so moving off of NFL, moving into the Major League Baseball. Folks, we're getting wrapped up to the end of the season. We do have a record that was set. The Colorado Rockies did lose 100 games for the first time in franchise history. So, hey, this is I deserve this. I'm not going to waste talking about MLB playoffs and then talk about the Colorado Rockies too, because that's not worth my time. So we will talk about the teams that are actually have clinched or potentially can clinch. So we will move over to the American League. Right now, the three teams that have for sure clinched a playoff spot in the AL is Baltimore, Minnesota, and Tampa Bay. We do know those three for sure have clinched. Right now, Baltimore and Tampa are competing for a division title, whereas whichever one wins the division is going to be the number one seed in the AL. The other one is going to be the top seed in the wild card standings for that, as far as that goes. And then Minnesota, congratulations. You won the AL Central, the league's worst division. So kudos to that for you for that. But at the end of the day, division title is a division title for that. We have some interesting races, though, folks. The wild card in the AL, I just want to touch on that first because I think that's some wild stuff. Essentially, right now, Houston, Toronto, and Tampa at this current moment in time, as of 7:24 on Wednesday, September 27th, are the three wildcard teams in the American League. Now, if we move over to the divisions, the AL West, there is a 3-game difference between first and second place. So Texas, at this current moment, is in first place in the AL West. Houston is 2.5 games behind. Seattle is 3 games behind. Now, Houston and Seattle are both 3 games away from being eliminated from potentially winning the division, whereas moving over to the wild card, the Seattle Mariners are 5 games away in the wild card, only a half game out of that second slot, right behind Houston for the third wild card point. So a lot of crazy stuff going on in the American League. I'm pretty sure I dove through that correctly. But what is your thoughts on the American League and kind of where things are at this current moment in time?
As far as who I trust making the World Series, absolutely no idea. But Baltimore is clearly the best team in the American League. Tampa Bay, debatably second. I would argue Texas, but Texas has lost every healthy arm on their team, so probably not anymore. But unfortunately for Tampa is they're going to have to get a wild card. If they make it to that round, they're going to have to play their division foe, Baltimore. So they got a tough test. As for the Central, easily the worst division in baseball, probably the worst division in sports right now. The second place team is going to have like 76 wins. That's just absolutely bonkers bad. However, the Twins actually are a decent team. They're top 10 in run differential, second in runs allowed, 11th in runs for. They're actually a pretty solid team, and they've been playing really good lately, although they have been playing Helen Keller's School of the Blind for the last 3 weeks. But the bats are hot. I think they lead the AL in home runs since the All-Star break, and they've scored a lot of runs. So they're decent. They're a good team. The AL West, very good. I still think Houston's a team to beat. Honestly, probably in the American League, honestly. They have Valdez and Verlander still, and it's the pedigree. They haven't lost in the American League playoffs. I think one time the last 5 years.
Something like that.
And until you dethrone them, they're the team to beat. However, they might not even make it. All I care about right now is tonight's game, 8:30 or 8:40, Astros Mariners. I need the Mariners to win. If the Mariners win, they can maybe knock Houston out of the playoffs. But if Houston wins, it's looking like they're going to get in, and then I need Toronto to lose badly because I need Houston to get that 5 seed. Right now, Houston's a 6, and I think they're going to get the 6, and I do not want to play Houston in the first round. I do not want that. But my prediction would be Houston gets the 6, Seattle gets the 5, Texas gets the 3. Texas basically just has to not get swept by Seattle in their 4-gamer, and they'll win the division.
Yeah.
Basically,
Yeah, cool.
Houston could get it yet, but
kudos to Texas, man, with the injuries that they've had this year to kind of just they've obviously there's been a little drop off, but to have been able to still do just enough to be able to stay in the playoff race. Obviously, they're ahead in the division right now. They're first. So, we'll see by the time, the next week of baseball games go, if that's still the case. May happen, may not. I don't know. But yeah, it just wild stuff. This is my favorite time of the year in the baseball season when you get to like the last week, because then you start, you watch a game, but then you start watching 3 other games at the same time, and they're doing the scoreboard watching. And yeah, I love it. As a Rockies fan, my team has rarely been in the playoffs, and besides a couple times, has pretty much done nothing in the playoffs. So I have been in my life very accustomed to jumping on other teams' bandwagons once they get to the playoffs. And I got to ride with a team to feel like I have some kind of dog in the race. Otherwise,
I'll gladly give you 18 playoff losses in a row if you'd rather have that.
I think I probably would rather make the playoffs and lose 18 times than to be a 90-plus loss team every single year.
I don't know. It's pretty heartbreaking year after freaking year.
Here's my thing, though. Here's what I have always said. And this is where I was at with Rockies baseball this year. I had no emotions towards them as a team. If they won a game, it didn't affect how I felt about them. If they lost a game, didn't affect how I felt about them. Because I just got to a point to where I know what the product on the field is, and I know what the management is, and I know we're not going to do anything positive, so why waste my time in caring?
Sounds like
At least with you,
sounds like ESPN even called out their management,
as they should,
about how bad it was.
At least with you, you have hope that your team can make the playoffs. Now, well, the false hope is better than no hope and not caring at all. Where I was at with the Rockies this year, because it was tough. Now, I will say this: Rockies have a lot of young guys that made the big leagues this year that did some pretty positive things. And I'm excited to see how that goes next year. I'm going to try and be more invested, but man, something's going to have to change. Like I said, not going to talk about the Rockies. Talk about the Rockies. Not going to talk about them. Not worth my time. I don't deserve my time right now. Moving over to now the National League. The 3 teams have all clinched 4 teams have clinched. Atlanta, the Dodgers, and Milwaukee and Philadelphia have all clinched a spot right there, and all 3 of them have clinched the division in Atlanta, Dodgers, and Milwaukee, where Philadelphia clinched a wild card spot. Now, right now, Arizona and Chicago are both right there in the mix of things in the wild card spot. And Miami is a game out. Cincinnati's a game and a half out. San Diego, they still somehow have a chance. Their elimination number, though, for the wild card is 1. Cincinnati is 4. Miami is 5. San Francisco also technically still has a chance, as their elimination number for the wild card is 1 as well with that too. So likely, I think, obviously Philadelphia has already clinched. I would bet Arizona probably is a pretty safe lock for the playoffs. And then now obviously things can happen. I get that. But then after that, that 3rd spot is kind of up for grabs here. So if it's, the end of the season, who do you think claims that 3rd spot? Is it Chicago, Miami, Cincinnati? Who do you think takes that final spot?
Between Chicago and Miami. Off the top of my head, I don't remember who those teams end with. I know the Diamondbacks end with Houston. I don't remember who Chicago and Miami end with, but Chicago's been faltering lately, but I think they'll still squeeze in and get it. If not them, it's Miami. Cincy doesn't have it. I can't see Cincy making it. So I think it'll be Chicago. Arizona should make it. Philly's already clinched the first wild card. I really don't see any of those. Whether it's I could maybe see Arizona doing something in the playoffs, probably not. Between Arizona, Chicago, Miami, Cincy, I don't see any of them doing anything in the playoffs. Philly could. But I think Arizona and Chicago will ultimately claim the final 2. We'll see. I hope Arizona I need Arizona to win that last series big time. They play Houston. I need Arizona to come up big. So we'll see.
So just doing some quick research here. You asked for the final games that they play. So the Marlins, their last series is Pittsburgh.
That bodes well for them.
Cincinnati's last series is St. Louis.
Oh, Chicago plays the Brewers. But the Brewers are already out of it, so those should be easy games for Chicago, you'd think.
So realistically, I think Cincinnati and Miami, with the teams that they're playing, do have chances to potentially sneak in if a Chicago drops a couple games. We'll see what happens, though, with that.
Milwaukee's already locked into a 3, though, so unless they want to play spoiler, they have nothing to play for. That normally bodes well for the other team, but we'll see.
Right. It'll be interesting nonetheless. Playoff baseball is right around the corner, and, October baseball is another feeling, so I'm certainly excited for it and see.
Obviously, I'm rooting for the Twins, but they've lost 18 playoff games in a row. I don't care if they were playing the Colorado Rockies in the playoffs on Tuesday. I would predict the Rockies to win. Until they win one, I'm not predicting them to win. That being said, I have 2 playoffs. I have 2 postseason strips. I got tickets to every game. I'll be at game 1. I'll be there rooting them on with all the false hope I have, which isn't much anymore. They should have a very good chance of beating Toronto or Seattle. Should. Don't think they will, but they should. But if they play Houston, they're screwed. They're host. They're not beating Houston. The only thing they got going for them is Houston. I believe Verlander's in line to pitch Sunday, and if they need to win that game, I'm assuming he's going to pitch. So they might avoid Verlander for at least games 1 and 2. But they're cooked if they play Houston. But I think Atlanta's the team to beat, obviously. But we all know baseball. Anybody can beat anybody on every given day. The best team rarely wins. That being said, I'm still leaning Atlanta. And if it's not the Twins, I hope it's Atlanta. I got $100 to win 900 on them boys. So.
Yep, we're huge Atlanta Braves fans.
Huge Atlanta
Braves fans. Nice. Yep. So we'll see what happens there. But anyways, that was a quick run through of baseball and kind of where things are. And just another kind of moment of silence for my parlay. That was 3 out of 4 teams.
So close.
3 out of 4 players to get 18 grand. And that's a tough one to swallow. But just got to rally.
Blake Snell, though, my goodness. I feel like a 1.4 ERA in his last 23 starts. What baffles me is he has a 5 walk per 9. How do you walk that many guys and have that low of an ERA? Basically, if you're not walking, you're not getting a base against him. The dude's been unhittable all year. Unreal.
Right. I think for me, I know I would not have picked Blake Snell to win NL Cy Young. So I can sleep better at night knowing that,
It's not like Alcantara won or something.
Right. So, but kudos to him, though. Likely NL Cy Young in case, unless Zach Allen sneaks in and backdoors him or something. We'll see what happens.
I think the only one that has a chance is Steele, but it's Snell. It's
right.
Snell.
Right. So good for him. AL Cy Young Award winner and NL Cy Young Award winner. So cool stuff.
Yeah, and Luis Ariz is going to become the 2nd player ever with a batting title in both leagues. Do you know who the other one is? You should.
In both leagues, well, it's probably got to be. Would it be Justin Morneau?
DJ LeMahieu.
Oh, okay. I didn't know. I forgot that he had won it in New York.
Morneau never won one in
Okay. Yeah. DJ won a couple in Colorado. I guess I forgot he had won the one in New York when we let him walk and replace him with Daniel Murphy for the same amount of years of money for him to be
a Rocky. It's so bad.
Yeah, I'm confident I could give anyone a first base glove and say go play first base, and they would do better than what Daniel Murphy did defensively at first base.
He didn't hit very well with you guys either. He was a stud with Washington and the Mets. Yep,
but Rocky fashion, come over and just be terrible. So
I know
welcome to it. Anywho, so then the last piece of news, want to dive into some NBA, and I guess good thing we did the podcast today. Pretty massive piece of news. Dame Dalla, aka Damian Lillard, did get traded. Not to the Miami Heat, which we shall see how that goes, especially in the NBA. If he's going to play or not, he got traded to the Milwaukee Bucks in a 3-team deal that happened today with the Bucks, Trailblazers, and the Phoenix Suns. So the kind of breakdown of things is like this. So the Bucks obviously received Damian Lillard. The Portland Trailblazers received Drew Holiday, DeAndre Ayton, Tumani Kamara, a 2029 unprotected first-round pick from Milwaukee, and unprotected Milwaukee swap rights in 2028 and 2030. And the Phoenix Suns got Yusuf Nurkic, Grayson Allen, Nasir Little, and Keon Johnson as kind of the full spectrum of the deal. If you're Giannis and the Bucks, obviously that's massive. They needed another guy last year, especially in the playoffs when Giannis went down. Chris Middleton couldn't make a bucket to save his life. It definitely could have needed a Damian Lillard in that moment. But I guess for all the teams involved, what are your thoughts on this?
First of all, you can trade draft picks from 2030.
Yeah, it's pretty absurd. It's pretty absurd.
My goodness. I guess a couple things. One, I've always liked Damian Lillard, and I'm glad to see he's going to go somewhere. He's got a chance for the finals. Dude deserves it. I believe the Bucks went from plus 800 to plus 340. They're the favorites now. So Damian Lillard's now on the team who's favored to win the finals. Couple things though. Obviously the Bucks got better. Obviously it was a good trade. However, they got rid of Drew Holiday, and Drew Holiday is maybe the best point guard defender in the whole league. Damian Lillard's a stud. I don't think he's known much for his defense. They're gonna need somebody to come up, and they also lost Grayson Allen, who's a key role player. So it's not like they just traded for a championship right now.
Right.
They're the favorites. They're gonna be very good, but they lost some pieces too. But at the end of the game, even though I've been saying Giannis is the best player in the league for a long time now, it's probably Jokic.
Yeah.
I think after the year he had, the dude's unbelievable. But Giannis, as good as he is, you're not just going to – it's hard to give it to Giannis with 14 seconds left and say, hey, go score. The dude can't shoot a jumper. Damian Lillard's the most clutch player in basketball. I don't care if your name's Steph Curry, Nikola Jokic, LeBron James, whatever. I'm giving Damian Lillard the ball with the clock running out. He's literally won 2 playoff series, not games, 2 playoff series with a buzzer beater. That's ridiculous.
Yep.
So, big time win for the Bucks today. Suns got rid of DeAndre Ayton, which it seems like they desperately wanted to do, and they had a Yusuf Nurkic, who, when healthy, is a pretty good player. I know you might not be the biggest fan of him, but he's a solid player when he's healthy. But I don't know. The Suns probably got worse talent-wise, but apparently Ayton, I don't know. They didn't seem to like Ayton. And the Trailblazers, they probably could have got more, but you got Ayton, you got some draft picks, you got Grayson Allen, I believe. It's an all right trade, I guess. So we'll see. But as far as I'm concerned, the Nuggets still should be the favorite. They just won it. We don't even know how Lillard is going to mesh with them. How many times in the last few years has teams added superstars? They just sucked. Look at the Nets this last year, right?
Right.
Obviously, I think the Bucks will be good. They definitely should be the favorites over the Celtics now, I'd say, in the East. But my pick for the finals would still probably be the Nuggets. I bet on the Lakers. I do think the Lakers have a really good shot, if I'm being honest. But clearly, it's looking good for the Bucks right now.
Yeah. So I guess my thoughts on all the teams involved. Portland, I think if they would have traded Damian Lillard a couple years ago, I think they probably would have gotten more. They held out hope for too long that they could do something with Damian Lillard.
In which I get it. When you got a guy that good, it's hard to get rid of him, especially it's not like they were dumpster fire. They were decent, but yes, I think you're right.
Put you on the map for you. Damian Lillard was the reason Portland was relevant for the last how many years of his career that he was there
Ever
for.
since they lost Aldridge, it's been Damian Lillard. You know, they had
Right.
They had that one really good year where they beat you guys with McCollum went off,
Yeah.
but yeah, it's basically been Lillard.
Yeah. Yeah. So, they waited a little bit long. Tough to get rid of him. Should have probably got rid of him sooner, but they didn't now. I guess late's better than never to get something for him. As far as the Phoenix side of things go, they got a better bench. I think that was a big thing as to why the Nuggets outplayed Phoenix, is because if Devin Booker and Kevin Durant and Chris Paul weren't doing anything, you weren't going to rely on DeAndre Ayton to win you ball games. Who else you're going to rely? Landry Shamet off your bench? I mean, no shade. You traded your soul away to get Kevin Durant, and it showed in the playoffs because you didn't have any depth when those guys came off the court, or if they struggled at all, which they rarely didn't. They both had fantastic series against us, but D-Book was cooking. But so they helped their depth a little bit more with that. Jusuf Nurkic, the guy's a good player when he plays, but I'll just say this. There's a reason every single year when the anniversary comes around, when Nikola Jokic finally took over Jusuf Nurkic for the starting center role, where Denver Nuggets fans are essentially throwing a collective party on Twitter and say, thank you for doing this. Nonetheless, more salt, if anything, for that reason. Nurkic is a good player. He has had a lot of health issues over the last few years, a lot of freak things where he hasn't been able to play, unfortunately. And then as far as the Bucks, I mean, I think we will. I agree with you on the Drew Holiday thing. I think that's going to probably show some ramifications later on in the season. We'll see how that goes. Damian Lillard's an outstanding player, and it is cool to see that he will finally get a chance to win. They may not, but he's going to have a much better chance right now than he was going to in Portland. And I do think Milwaukee is better today than they were yesterday if they hadn't made the deal. But and this is what we've kind of been learning with super teams, is that the glue guys make an impact. They make a massive difference on how teams roll. Drew Holiday was a massive glue guy. Grayson Allen, a massive glue guy. And could they still win without? They very well might. But we'll see what happens there, really, is what it comes down to.
Yeah. I mean, I feel good for Lillard. I feel bad for Drew Holiday. He loved it in Milwaukee and wanted to retire with him, but it's business.
Yep, it is business. It's an important thing to remember at the end of the day, unfortunately. But anywho, that's the end of our show, folks. Episode 73 is a wrap. Nick, is there anything else that you wanted to mention or bring up before we kind of ended things here today?
Yeah, claps for Caleb. Can't wait for 6 days from now for the Twins to ruin me yet again. But despite that, I guess still go Twins. And I'll see you next time. Probably ranting about how the Twins suck, just like I ranted about the Vikings today. So
right,
and I bet the viewers can't wait for that one.
That's right. Yes, that's a classic. That is a classic for sure. Anyways, folks, if you want to follow us on Twitter, you can follow myself at Lucas_Dorton, capital L is capital D. If you want to follow Nick on Twitter, follow him at Doetkott or Doetkott, whatever's easier to remember for that. If you want to follow our Twitter page, it's at DND_podcast, capital D's, capital P for that. So certainly follow all of those. If you would like to be on the show, let us know. We would certainly love to have you. It's always nice to have new people on here, like I had with Tyler last week. That was a fun talk to have with him to do some NFL preview, to dive into some things here too. So anyways, folks, as for myself and for Nick Doetkott, this is episode 73. And until next time, we are out.